What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we begin our second week in a row talking about a Matt Mercer subclass, although this week is a little bit more official than what we talked about last week, and we're talking about the Chronurgy Wizard. This is one that is obsessed with time, and we'll just have to see how it compares to the others. But before we do that, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already. We are coming up very close on that end of year goal of 5,000 subscribers. We can do it, but of course I need your help in order for us to get that final push. We've started to lag behind the goal just a little bit, but it's still possible, so please help us to get there. This wizard is really, really cool. I think that this is a really fun addition. Obviously, this came online with another wizard that we will be talking about a little bit later, the Graviturgist, but that'll be when we get to the G's in alphabetical order. And this is cool, though. We manipulate time. Now, obviously, there is some similarity here to the theming as the Divination Wizard, which we'll be talking about here in, I believe, 2 weeks. The Divination Wizard is kind of sees the future, sort of. This one allows you to manipulate time in a way. So there's some similarities, but ultimately they are distinct enough to where they're both kind of in their own camp. And I think they're both really, really cool. But is this one powerful enough to get that coveted 10 out of 10, or is it complete garbage like some of the other stuff? We'll just have to find that out today after a word from our sponsor. If you are looking for a great gift this upcoming Christmas season, then the Wandering Tavern by Homie and the Dude is the perfect one for the TTRPG lover. This system-agnostic setting features 15 floors and 23 unique locations for you to explore on a massive airship. Interact with the various factions to learn all of the mysteries held within this vessel. Learn recipes for unique benefits and even compete in a bake-off. If you like the work of Studio Ghibli, then this is absolutely the one for you. Learn more with the link below and use code DAPPER10 to receive 10% off at checkout. And of course, by doing so, you will be supporting my channel. Thank you again to Homie and the Dude for supporting the channel, and let's get back to the video. So at level 2, we get 2 features, and the first is Chronal Shift. This is a really interesting feature that basically says, oh, you're doing really good? No, stop that. So basically with this, whenever we want to, we can use our reaction whenever us or another creature that we can see within 30 feet of us makes an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Then you can force that creature to re-roll. We can make this decision after we see whether or not the roll succeeds or fails, and the target must use the second result. We can use this 2 times, and we regain any expended uses after a long rest. So this is basically redo the feature, right? And so this kind of is similar to how Portent works, except I would say that it's a little bit less so. Again, we haven't talked about Portent yet, but it's very famous. So basically Portent allows you to roll 2 dice, and then you can store whatever you rolled on those d20s and use them throughout the day. That's for the Divination Wizard, again, a couple of weeks from now. But this allows you to force re-rolls, which is interesting. It definitely could be very useful in turning a success into a failure or vice versa, right? It essentially either gives you disadvantage on the roll, or it gives advantage on a roll depending on where you're at, right? And so I think that mathematically speaking, this is actually very useful. We only get 2 uses of it, which is a little limiting. I would have liked to have seen more, but still, with the amount of usefulness that there is with this, listen, you're going to be using both uses of this every single day. It's going to come up all the time, right? It helps you, or it helps your friends, or it hurts your enemies. Somebody's going to hate this, or somebody's going to love it, and I think it's great. It works both ways, and that is absolutely fantastic. For that reason, this gets a 9 out of 10. It's absolutely fantastic being able to re-roll. Obviously, we can't influence the roll, and so that's why it is not a 10, because ultimately we could just fail twice, or the enemy could just succeed twice. So it's not foolproof, but it is still very nice. Also at level 2, we get Temporal Awareness, and this just gives us a boost to our initiative equal to our intelligence modifier. Now we actually are going to get this as a different wizard at the very end with the War Wizard, but we get it here as well. And this is incredibly good, right? We've talked about other subclasses in the past that give bonuses to initiative equal to whether it's a spellcasting modifier or whatever happens to be, and no matter what, it's great. It's really good. A wizard is no exception in wanting to have a really good initiative score, although typically dexterity is something that is at best your third best stat, if not worse. And so this being able to add on to our initiative is really nice. There's really not a whole lot to discuss about this besides the fact that this is a 10 out of 10 feature. Having all these bonuses to my initiative rolls are going to be amazing, and I can't discount how good this is. At level 6, we get momentary stasis, and so now we get to basically freeze time on a creature, which could serve to be very useful. So with this, we can target a creature that is large or smaller, and it has to make a Constitution saving throw against our spell save DC. Unless that saving throw is a success, the creature is now encased in a field of magical energy until the end of our next turn, or until the creature takes damage. While encased in this way, the creature is incapacitated and has a speed of 0. We can use this a number of times per day equal to our intelligence modifier and get all of those back at the end of a long rest. So this is essentially slightly, well, I say slightly, it's kind of worse, basically hold monster essentially, right? It's got a much shorter time frame on it of 1 turn. There's still a Constitution saving throw involved, which isn't the best. Obviously Constitution checks are going to be usually pretty good on monsters. Now it is larger, smaller, so you're not going to be dealing with anything that's huge or you're larger, but still I think that may cause some issues of them succeeding. Definitely gives you a reason to want to bump that intelligence up even faster. It's definitely very useful there, but could be really good, right? To me, what this does is this either takes an enemy that's dealing a bunch of damage out of the fight so that it skips its turn, which could be really good, or what's technically better is, and I guess in that time frame, all of your friends gang up around this thing and everybody hold an action, and as soon as everybody's ready, just wail on this thing. And now it's got terrible positioning where maybe it had better positioning before and now it can't move. Yeah, this could be really good. The big difference here is that it does not mention any kind of concentration. So we can do this while concentrating on something else. So potentially we could have 2 creatures frozen if we're doing a hold person and this, right? Even though this one is temporary, it still counts, and so that makes this really quite valuable, and we can do it a number of times per day equal to our intelligence modifier. That's plenty to me. Ultimately, this is a really nice feature. Honestly, I think this is an 8 out of 10. It's not bad. It's not bad. The Constitution saving throw is a little tough, but besides that, I'm pretty much on board with everything. At level 10, we get Arcane Abeyance, and this is kind of like storing a spell in a spell storing item, but it's a slightly different. So basically with this, whenever we want to, we can cast a spell that is 4th level or lower and can condense that magic into a small gray bead for an hour. It's a tiny object, AC 15, 1 hit point, and when the duration ends, or if the bead is destroyed, it is gone and the spell goes away. A creature that's holding the bead can use its action to release the spell that's in it, and it uses your spell attack bonus and spell saving throw DC. The spell then treats the creature who released it as the caster for all other purposes, things like concentration and that sort of thing. Once you create a bead in this way, you cannot do so again until you finish a short or long rest. Again, this is basically a spell storing item, and these are always good, right? These are always good, right? You give the fighter the hold person one, right? You give this guy that has a really good Constitution modifier this really devastating spell. You could even give the fighter a, hypnotic pattern even. And that way you can be concentrating on the haste, or you could even give the haste to somebody else. And that way that person can concentrate on his or her own haste. There's just a lot of really good stuff that will go in this, and it all works. And the fact that you can do it on a short or long rest, again, you're going to use this every single rest. Every single time you're going to use this and you're going to get some use out of it, and it allows essentially you to concentrate on a spell and somebody that normally would never be able to concentrate on a spell at the same time. Basically double concentration. That's incredibly good. It's a 10 out of 10. I don't know what to tell you. It's really, really good. 4th or below is honestly perfectly fine. We really don't need to worry about going any higher because there are so many good ones in that list that I'm honestly good. That satisfies everything I need. Finally, at level 14, we get Convergent Future, and if this wasn't good enough, then it is now. So with this, we can now basically see the future and manipulate the future as well. So when a creature, whether that's us or somebody else that we can see within 60 feet of us, makes an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can use your reaction to ignore the die roll and decide whether the number rolled is the minimum needed to succeed or one less than that number, your choice. When you use this feature, you gain 1 level of exhaustion. Only by finishing a long rest can you remove a level of exhaustion gained this way. Okay, so there's a little bit to unpack here, and a little bit of clunky wording as well. I will say this is not Matt's best work in wording the feature, although I'm going to attempt to discern what he means by this, and if I'm wrong, then let me know in the comments. But essentially what this does is whenever we see a creature, similar to what we got back at level 2, right? Whenever we see a creature within 60 feet of us, roll a d20, and we don't want you to succeed or we don't want you to fail, we can just say, no, it's going the other way. You failed before, now you're going to succeed. Oh, you succeeded before, now you're going to fail. So the tough thing about how this is worded is it says, whether the number rolled is the minimum needed to succeed or one less than that number. Some people have interpreted this online to mean that you roll on the die itself one less than what is needed, but then modifiers get added on and they still succeed. To me, I think that's dumb, and I don't think that's what's intended here. To me, what I think happens is, it's a DC 10, you've got a +5 modifier, right? So, and you roll a 4. You need to succeed, so now you've changed that to a 5, so now you meet it, right? I think that is kind of the idea here. It does lead to a little bit of metagaming, a little bit, because if the DM says, oh, well, you need to roll a blank to succeed with your modifiers, that's giving away either an AC, that's giving away something, right? Or it's giving away the spell saving throw DC. So it becomes a little metagamey, and you have to kind of peek behind the curtain for it to work. But ultimately, that's kind of how it has to work. Unfortunately, I just think it's a little clunky in that way. But still, that doesn't make it any less powerful. Yes, it takes a level of exhaustion when this happens. But it's also because this is one of the most broken features possibly in Dungeons and Dragons, to be honest with you, because what this means is you can just say, no, you fail on a suck or save type of situation. And wizards have a plethora of suck or save spell options. Again, like I mentioned earlier with Hypnotic Pattern, right? You want to deal big damage, that's with a fireball. You get to even higher levels, you have things like Plane Shift, right? And you just, yeah, you're gone, goodbye. Right? You can banish somebody. You can do all of these things, and the enemy can do nothing about it outside of legendary resistance. That is incredibly strong, and to me is worth a level of exhaustion. Obviously we've talked about Frenzy before with the Barbarian, and I'll put that up in the icon above for you as well, but we've talked about how that is not as good. And to me, 1 extra attack per turn was not enough to justify that rage and going into Frenzy. This feature absolutely is worth doing that, and even if you can't regain it back with magical means, I don't care. It's really, really good. Absolutely a 10 out of 10, probably the best capstone feature of any wizard in existence. It's just so good. So what do we think about the Chronurgy Wizard? This thing is really strong. This thing's really, really good. Anytime you deal with time travel, obviously it's going to be tricky to balance something like that, because you end up manipulating a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily even think about, right? This basically is, you know, that randomness that's in D&D? No, we're going to take some of that out, and we're going to make things a little bit more reliable, whether that's to our advantage or to the enemy's disadvantage. And again, either way, you win. And it's just so reliable. It's all so very user-friendly. There's just, you know, I'm being nitpicky in what I'm trying to talk down on this about, but to be honest, this is absolutely one of the best wizards in existence, in my opinion. It's a 10 out of 10, in case you were wondering. This is an absolutely incredible kit. Being able to just shut down somebody and automatically make them fail a suck or save thing. Being able to have that double concentration, sort of like what we talked about with Arcane Abeyance, the momentary stasis in order to help with positioning, either for you or your friends or whoever, having a bonus to your initiative, and then the chronal shift being that portent light. I mean, all of this just adds up to being an incredibly effective kit when it comes to those suck or save spells, which can be so devastating. So that's the video for today. I hope you all enjoyed that. Later this week, we're going to be building one of these together, and I am pumped to do that. Listen, throughout this series, I have been doing a lot of custom lineage and a lot of variant human. I know, I apologize. I'm guaranteeing you this week that will not be the case. All right, so mark your calendars. There will not be any variant human. There will not be any custom lineage in this upcoming build. Don't worry, I got you. So anyway, again, make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss that. We also have our first week of the UNPL Fall Brawl Little Cup series coming out on Saturday. And of course, our build is coming up on Sunday. So until then, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.